All right. Got an update on Canelo, Alvarez, Turki, Alashiek, and David Benavidez. As rumor has it, Canelo Alvarez is quite upset with Turki Alashiek over promises made and promises that have not been kept. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, I am going to talk about the following things. That Canelo Alvarez is rumored to have had guarantees that have not been met or preconditions that have not been met for the Williams-Skull fight. Turki, therefore, might have gotten Canelo Alvarez to fight him or Williams-Skull under false pretenses. Turki, also, my understanding is having some budget problems, and there's some fear around the payment of money. So the question becomes, will Turki, at least in the mind of Canelo Alvarez, I'm being told, will he have the things necessary in place for him to fight Terrence Crawford? I'm going to get into each one of these points, but before I do, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And if you're a longtime subscriber and supporter of the channel, thank you guys so much. So, big news was that Canelo Alvarez has struck a deal with Turki Alashiek. They shook hands on the internet, and now there's talks, obviously, of him fighting on this card, this weekend card in Saudi Arabia against Williams-Skull. That fight is supposed to be the first weekend of May. There are now grumblings that fight and issues going on with that fight are making Canelo Alvarez more hesitant to deal with Turki Alashiek in the next fight with Terrence Crawford. Now, I am not at liberty to say what those specific guarantees were that were not met. However, the thought is, at least that's what I've been told, is that Canelo was offered things under false pretenses. And once he committed to it, he found out that, hey, man, kind of like a Don King type of thing where you strike a deal, but as soon as you strike a deal, the negotiations start after you strike the deal. Oh, we need to do this a little bit different. How about we do this? How about we do that? And my understanding is that he would not have fought Williams-Skull if he had known what he had known now before he shook hands and let people know what was going to go on. Now, some of the concerns around these things with Turki Alashiek are related to things that are political. So I have to go into that just a little bit. Turki Alashiek has had his budget scaled back dramatically. That was a budget that he had for Riyadh season because, and shout out to my guy, Fahim Sator, Riyadh season, according to many sources, is wildly unpopular in Saudi Arabia because many of the people, the religious belief, as I understand it, do not think that boxing is conducive with their religious beliefs. So that is just a natural tension that exists within Saudi Arabia around the boxing events in Saudi Arabia. So my understanding is that last year, Turki Alashiek was told, and other people were told about the PIF fund, that they were only going to use them for fights in the United States. So the budget got cut down. But there was also recently a lot of pressure put on Turki Alashiek because of the card that took place with Arthur Beterbiev and Dimitri Bivol. In that particular fight, you had several issues. Number one, again, it lost a lot of money. Number two, it was not a very popular fight outside, or that card was not a very popular fight in the United States or around the world because there was only 45,000 viewers for it worldwide. So Turki Alashiek is in a tough situation because outside the United States, he really can't use boxing to really grow the name of Saudi Arabia because the fights that he's putting on are wildly known to have lost a lot of money and people aren't really showing a lot of interest. I think Turki Alashiek fell victim to the boxing journalist disease where they think that everything that they see is right. And they, boxing writers all kind of are involved in this real big circle jerk where they all, celebrate the same thing, celebrate the same people, and, blew all kind of smoke at Turki Alashiek, thinking, acting like Turki Alashiek was going to be the savior of boxing. And Turki Alashiek got a little bit big for his bridges and didn't realize, bro, you don't even know the sport. The fact that you don't know the sport is going to prevent you from being successful at promoting the sport. It's just that simple. And I got to give my guy, Boxing Ego, a lot of credit. He did a video on his channel that was around the topic of Devin Haney and Gabe Rosado and kind of the immaturity of Devin Haney and how he kind of just went about his career the wrong way. Well, Turki Alashiek, yeah, it's kind of doing the same thing, man. Obviously, very new to the sport of boxing. He's a jack of all trades with different types of athletics, but he just doesn't know the sport. And he kind of came into the United States like a bull in a China shop. And there was a lot of blowback on Saudi Arabia as far as the politicians. And a lot of people will say, Turki Alashiek's not that big a deal in geopolitics. Well, not everybody's got to be a big deal. You know what I mean? Not everybody's got to be a big deal as long as you're a deal. So as long as you have that prince sitting there and the prince has to deal with diplomats from the United States and the diplomats from the United States are getting messages from U.S. senators and people in their constituency complaining about fight fixing and all of that type of stuff in the United States and in Saudi Arabia around boxing, the desire to tear down the entire infrastructure of boxing, which would make it that much easier for people to cheat. That's a lot of blowback getting into his boss's ear, and it's coming, and it may come as a note number 5 or note number 15 on the agenda. But trust me, they go through the whole agenda. Yeah, you may have something like, "Hey, let's avert nuclear war" as the top agenda. But man, at point number 16, they can say, "Hey, we got a sports issue." What's the issue? The issue is that you got somebody working for you that is trying to tear down a market in our country. So you're using this PIF fund. I'm sure you didn't intend to use it in this fashion. You're just trying to build your own country. But what your guy is actually doing is he's actually he's attempting to tear down an entire marketplace in the United States so that he can supplant that and then do that for Saudi Arabia without any U.S. competition in the United States. Even though you may think that that's a very small point and nowhere near the great big issues like Israel and the Gaza ceasefire or Russia and Ukraine and their ceasefire, it's still not something that is going to be completely ignored because there's always gigantic issues and there are always mid-level issues and smaller issues. However, smaller issues turn into mid-level issues and mid-level issues turn into gigantic issues. So you got to get the small ones when they're there. So diplomats are not going to overlook something like what is akin to cultural warfare between Saudi Arabia and the United States. And that was affecting his money. So now Turki Alashiek is in a situation where his purse strings have been severely constrained. He also has a lot of existing relationships and things that he's already promised to do. Now, watch this. Proof of this is what's happening with David Benavidez and the Dmitry Bivol fight. Why isn't Turki Alashiek interested in the Dmitry Bivol fight for Artur Beterbiev? When Turki Alashiek actually flew David Benavidez out to Saudi Arabia under the pretext that he was going to be able to fight the winner. So he sits there, he takes his trip across the country, right? Across the world, travels with the expectation that is what he's there for. What happens after the fight is over? Turki Alashiek says, "I don't want this anymore." You told the man he was going to get a fight. That's why you flew him out there. But then after you fly him out there and things don't go the way you wanted to go for whatever reason, all of a sudden you turn around and say, nah, I don't want to do that with him anymore. Those are not people that you want to deal with in a business sense. And if Turki will do that to David Benavidez, he'll do it to Canelo too. He'll promise something to Canelo, and then right after he promises and said we agree to it, he'll back off of it, change it, see if he can do something different. And that's because he's not a professional. He's not a professional businessman. He's a minor league. I'm sorry, bro. To me, he seems like he's kind of like a mid-level Saudi thug, right? That had access to a big pot of money. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.